Welcome back to the Road to National series. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through an upper max workout. So keeping with the theme of this 3-week cycle, I have been doing band assisted bench presses and slowly lowering the band assistance. So I don't actually know how much assistance there is here, but I know that with the band just heavier than this, I hit 170 kilos. So here I wanted to hit at least 160 kilos with this band, and I did managed to hit that here. It was a little bit of a grind halfway through, but it felt like it moved okay. So I decided to attempt 165 kilos. However, Britain uncharacteristically is experiencing a bit of a heat wave, and I was so sweaty I lost a load of upper back tightness there, and I could just not be strong enough on the day, but I failed 165 kilos, but I was happy that I hit 160 kilos anyway. It was still a victory, and yeah, I'll take that and move on. So the first accessory here is a JM press. Now I'm doing these at 80 kilos, which is a little heavier than I normally do. So I've been usually using around 70 kilos of weight, but I was happy to use 80 kilos and hit, I think, 9 reps on this first set and 8 reps on the second set. So an okay amount of reps. I think going forward, I'm going to try a bit more like pump work with the triceps. I mean, next week is a deload week anyway, so I'm definitely going to be doing lighter accessories across the board. But whilst these did feel fantastic on the triceps, I've been talking about this more recently in general, but within the conjugate training system, you do not want your accessories to contribute to fatigue, and that's for strength training in general. You want your primary work, the max efforts and dynamic efforts, to contribute pretty much to the fatigue, and then the accessories are just to bring up lagging body parts or any other weaknesses you may have, but also to keep you primed. Like, they're actually meant to make you feel better, not to take up too much of your recovery capacity. So whilst I've been pushing the weight on these JM presses a bit recently, and sets of 9 and 8 aren't horrific, I think I'm going to drop it down to a lighter accessory, more like this next accessory here, which is wide grip mag grip lat pull downs, and I did these at 180 pounds, and I got a set of 15 on this first set very easily. I actually felt very strong on these. I was expecting when I chose 180 pounds to be doing nearer 12 reps, but I sort of managed to blitz through to 15 reps. That moved perfectly. That is how I want my accessory sets to look, at least the first set of each accessory, because I always do 2, and then the second set here was much more of a grind. The last few reps were cheaty. I think I still hit 15 reps. However, it was sort of like 12 proper reps. Then I tried to take a little bit of a break and crank out the last 3, but I used way more body momentum. But anyway, I mean, they still burnt out the lats and the back, and I felt a large back pump after doing that. Then the next accessory was chest press. So I did these at 220 pounds, which is a moderate weight for me. I built all the way up to like 280 pounds before, and I wanted to do this at higher reps as well. So I think on this first set, I got a set of 15, but I definitely burnt the chest out a lot. The chest for me is also something where once I've got a pump, literally like with one set, I can get a chest pump, and then my strength drops off dramatically. So like I say, in this first set, I got a set of 15, but I'm pretty sure in the second set, I like barely got a set of 12. And then I did some small sort of like pulses at the end just to pump the chest up even more and burn the chest a little bit extra. But I didn't want to like do a drop set or anything like I had been doing a few months ago, because I think the intensity I was pushing at was perfect for bodybuilding work. If I was just trying to accumulate more mass, that is exactly what I would do. 2 sets to failure on each exercise. However, when trying to be strong and powerlifting, you want to be primed for your main lifts. And I was finding that all of my accessories were going up in strength, but it wasn't transferring over to my main lifts, I think because I was far too fatigued. So the next accessory here was loo raises. I did these with the 10 kilo dumbbells. Now with this weight, I've sort of only been able to get, I think, a set of 10 on the first set with a few side laterals afterwards. And then only sets of 7 after that. I don't think I've ever managed to get 2 sets of 10 of full loo raises. However, today I did manage to do that, which is nice. Just a nice little progression in the accessories. And that is more what you're going to see across the board with accessories. Like large increases in weight and reps, particularly when you've been training for a while, is probably not going to happen. It's more likely to be something like this, where normally I do get 10 reps at this weight on the first set, but only 7 on the second set, whereas here I got 10 on both sets. So it's a small improvement there. And then obviously I do the extra lateral raises in order to burn the delts out more, and I definitely feel the delts more than I ever have. I also find that this has translated massively over to my overhead pressing. I haven't really trained delts before the start of this series, before the start of this year. I always wanted to prioritize my chest over my delts. However, since doing literally mainly just lateral raises and then loo raises, my overhead strength has gone up massively, particularly starting to do the loo raises, and I basically don't train overhead other than that. So if you are wanting to increase your overhead strength, I would definitely recommend including loo raises into your accessories. So the next accessory I had here was preacher curls, single arm dumbbell preacher curls using the bench as a preacher pad. And at this weight, 25 kilos, I've only ever been able to get sets of 4, maybe a set of 5, I think, per arm. But today I was just feeling much stronger. I think more recovered. Like I was saying, I've been toning down the intensity of my accessories, and it meant that my biceps felt good and fully recovered going into this session. So I managed to get sets of 7 per arm for 2 sets. So yeah, that is definitely the strongest my biceps have ever been. And I feel like I could maybe have got an 8th rep on the first set. On the second set, I actually went for an 8th rep on each arm, but failed it. You'll be able to see that I literally just couldn't crank out the extra rep. But they felt fantastic, and I think my biceps are definitely at an all-time strongest point, similar to the delts, because biceps aren't really a primary mover or important in powerlifting. I hadn't trained them for years before the start of this year, but I'm trying to just generally physically prepare the body now, and adding in, one accessory of biceps for 2 sets per upper workout is really not contributing to fatigue at all. So whilst it is still improving the strength of the biceps. So that is why I train biceps. Also, I've talked about in a few videos, but the biceps are actually a stabilizer for the bench, particularly if the weight starts to go off in one direction. If you press at an angle, sometimes that can happen, you can misgroove a weight, and often the bicep on the side that you're leaning towards tries to contract inwards to restabilize you, and that is how I have aggravated my bicep tendons before and actually hurt my biceps. I've never done it from curls. I've never injured my biceps from curling, only from benching, weirdly. So that is another reason that I do these bicep curls, is just to generally prepare and strengthen the bicep and the bicep tendon for in case that does happen on a bench press, so that instead of putting me out of action for a week of training afterwards, hopefully the bicep tendons will be stronger and won't feel it, won't get injured. So the final accessory here is an isometric ab hold on the GHD. Now, I only did 1 set of this because I was a bit of a muppet, and like I said, the UK is experiencing a bit of a heat wave. It is very hot. This gym in particular has a tin roof and is exceptionally hot. That's why I'm keeping the blind down next to the GHD, because it helps to keep some of the heat out. But I forgot to bring my water up in the session, and I was just being lazy. I didn't want to have to take my shoes off and change and go and get some, but it meant that I was exceptionally hot. You can see that my top is unbelievably sweaty, and I felt like I was gonna die of heat stroke if I did another accessory. I was feeling a bit like I had a headache. So I basically didn't do another set of abs, but they felt good, they felt strong. That's the longest I've held that isometric before, so that went well. So that is it for today's video. I hope you did in fact enjoy the video. If you did, drop it a like, drop it a comment, subscribe, click the bell, and have a great day.